Hi, very good morning. Jim from Mavstar. A lot of people over the last few days have been asking me whether the power outage in some parts of France, Portugal and Spain was a result of the magnetosphere collapsing due to the magnetic poles reversing, and clearly the answer is no. If it had been to do with that, it wouldn't be just related to just a few countries. It would have been, a global outage, and people would still not have electricity today. So the answer is no. What caused it? Gravity waves. As we become more dependent now on green energy, such as solar panels, wind turbines, we're going to start to enter more of these events. And what basically is happening is sunlight is passing through the clouds of these gravity waves. You're going to get cloud formation at the peaks, as you can see in the right-hand picture, forming at the top of the gravity wave. And then at the bottom part of the gravity wave, you're going to have clear sky. What's happening is sunlight is being frequencied across that wave. So you get, as it passes through the cloud, less sunlight obviously has a major impact on solar panels. And then when it passes through the clear part, the lower trough of that wave, you get clear skies, the electricity production goes up. And the thing is here is that, national grids cannot cope with these fluctuations. After, a certain amount of these incidents where it's dropping from very low sunlight to very high sunlight and fluctuations in the energy production, it's going to knock the grid out, and that's what happened. And we're going to see more of this. If we're going to rely more on these green energy productive measures, we're going to see a lot more of this happen. We have to maintain here in the UK, I think it's 50 hertz, and if it drops down to 5 hertz, off that 50, so it goes down to 45, the grid is going to shut down. If it increases by 5 hertz, it's going to do the same thing. So, maintaining, the correct amount of power production over a prolonged period of time is going to be, as we become more adapted to wind turbine generated energy, because the wind speeds change again with that. It's not just down to sunlight. With these renewables, the problem is, with wind, it can change. Some days you have no wind, some days you have high wind, some days you have intermittent wind speeds, and you're going to get the same problem. When we experience gravity wave phenomena, you're going to have intermittent production of solar panel energy, which is going to affect the grid, and it's very difficult to control from the grid provider. So that's the reason what caused the outage. Just expect this to become, something that we'll experience a lot. The more dependent we become on these energy productive solutions, the more we're going to experience this. And that's it in a nutshell. Tomorrow is going to be a very interesting day for some people that have been accustomed to receiving, their regular monthly updates on the magnetic North Pole position. All I'm going to say about that is, look, we're all in it together. Yeah. Thousands of truckers are being laid off in the US and in Canada right now, and in Mexico as we speak. Now they're looking for alternative work. Why? Because of tariffs. And it will have a knock-on effect on a lot of industries, so just be prepared for that. My only advice is, just try and be a little bit more humble in your lives, your weekly lives. Try and make it work however you can. But if you've got a business and clearly there is nobody coming into your shop if you're a retailer, and there's nobody coming into the shop to purchase stuff, then take that on board. You know, don't sink every last asset you have into that. Know when to quit. That's the big thing in business. You know, I had a business years ago in grainworks, and come winter time, we'd expanded this particular year and took on 10 staff. But I knew coming up to the winter that there was no way I was going to be able to keep these people in employment, because you can't do grainworks efficiently. You can do grainworks in the winter when it's rainy and, you know, the grain's frozen. You can do grainworks, but it's not as efficient as it is in the summer. So I knew what was happening, and I'm looking around, all of a sudden expanded, you know, to employing 10 people. I've got a factory. I'm looking around and thinking, no way am I keeping this through the winter without, you know, everything I've worked for in the last 10 years getting sunk back into it. So, you know, I sold the business on. And sure enough, that business lasted 8 months under the new employee, and I'm pretty sure that they sunk a lot of their money into that business, which they never recovered. You know, it's just knowing when to quit. You know, you've got to have a bit of gut instinct there, or animal instinct, whatever you call it. But, you know, I know what people are going through. You know, I completely sympathise. And, you know, we all have to make tough decisions. And one will be made tomorrow on the 4th of May here at the observatory. And it's going to affect a lot of people. You know, there are going to be some people upset, but, you know, we cannot, you know, we have been upfront all along with you guys. You know, we've managed to do a hell of a lot on such a small budget, which has required mainly my time, you know, training to program, you know, learning about electronics engineering over the last 10 years, decade or so, and, you know, just forcing it to work. But we can't do it no more. So some big changes coming tomorrow. And the only other thing for me to say is, you know what, this is just the beginning. You think things are hard now, then just be prepared for things to get 50 times worse than this. So what you should do, as always, take care of your loved ones. Bye for now.